Sadhguru Jagi Vasudev is a realized master, mystic, and yogi. He has shown the way for people to attain to their natural joy and to live life with experience from one's own inner nature. His presence is filled with grace and compassion. Sadhguru's scientific approach towards spirituality and work towards the upliftment of humanity have received accolades worldwide. The words that come from him in intensity and utmost clarity, from his deep understanding and wisdom, can change the very core of the being. Belonging to no particular tradition, Sadhguru incorporates what is most valid for the modern person from the spiritual sciences. His work, an outpouring of his blissfulness, finds expression in the form of a ceaseless offering to help all beings. Available to all who are willing, Sadhguru's life is an invitation to the divine through individual transformation. Welcome to the silent revolution of self-realization.
Why the spiritual process has become what it is. When a seed of any kind in the world can find its ultimate potential simply through simple nourishment, a mango tree, if it finds soil and nourishment, it will find its sweetness. A mango tree does not need a guru to produce sweetness. When this is so, why is it a human being, at least for the life that you know generally in this planet, a human being who seems to be of the highest potential of all life on this planet, why is it that by himself he is not able to get to his ultimate nature? What is this trap? What is the nature of this trap? Why outside help is needed? Why can't it be an inside job? It is just like if you were trapped in a prison, if you were imprisoned, the very nature of the prison is such, the prison is made in such a way that it does not provide tools to break through. Everything that could help you to break through has been taken away in some way. If it has to be an inside job, then all the prisoners, or at least a substantial number of prisoners, should get together and push the gates or the walls or whatever. But if an individual prisoner makes an attempt to get out by himself, all by himself, the chances of him getting out of the prison are quite remote. Most prisoners who have been sentenced to life, though that's not the place they want to stay, much longing is there to get out, never make it, because they don't have outside help. But if you can organize all the prisoners together and force your way out, you could do it. But the very nature of these prisoners are such, it's very rare that they get organized. Whether it's in the prison or it's in an ashram, all of them getting organized like one organism and functioning like that is rare. We're doing quite well, but still, it is not a one organism. It has many limbs which tend to move in different directions. So outside help becomes inevitable. And somebody who is not in the same limitations, somebody who is not imprisoned within himself, somebody who is not contained by the physical cage, which is the body, someone who is free. That kind of help becomes inevitable and necessary. This is the reason why the wise traditions, particularly of the East, have always insisted on an enlightened guru, or if he passes on, a strong sangha or a satsang where people are together as one. Every realized being, before he left, he always tried to organize his people into one group. Those who did not do it, the moment they left, the very spiritual process lost its relevance. When the master was there, it worked. The moment he is gone, the very spiritual process becomes irrelevant because they did not organize a strong organism of people. Gautama strived very hard to establish the Sangha. Jesus spoke a little. Very small Sangha he had, only 12. In that one is a spy. Only 11, not even a dozen. So, try to organize those 11 people into a strong organism. When the Guru is alive, the Sangha is not so important. But when he is alive, the necessary organization, if it is not done, after he is gone, it is impossible to put people together. The moment you're trapped in this mechanism, which you call as myself, which is self-created, because who you are right now is just a memory of the past. Everything that you are right now is just a memory. Both memory and imagination have no existential relevance. They're not true. It's for this reason that for ages they went on insisting that everything that you are experiencing right now, your very life and your very existence as an individual is a dream, it's Maya, it's an illusion. If it is Maya, why do I suffer right now? My body is aching. Is that Maya? My knees are hurting right now, sitting here. Is this Maya? You must understand this. Whatever you believe becomes your reality. You walked into the forest, they're not letting you go there these days. Because yesterday night you must have heard the elephants were close by. They're wanting to come to the ashram. From 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. they were trying to get into the ashram and our people were bursting crackers. You heard that? You didn't hear? You didn't hear the crackers at least? No? You really sleep well. So, if you walk into the forest, and if you fear snakes, you're walking and you just saw a tree branch, a dead branch lying there, and you thought it's a king cobra. It looks like that usually. In the moonlight, it looked like a king cobra. And someone behind you sighed. Some people are always sighing, and you thought the snake is hissing too. The moment you thought it's a snake, your whole body reacted to that. You start sweating, you start getting paralyzed, fearful. Everything that needs to happen with a snake happened. Just because you believed it is so. There is no such thing there. It doesn't matter, but you believe it is so that's the way it works for you. Let's say you're walking in the forest, really there is a king cobra with his hood raised, standing up 6 feet tall. You know, king cobra can stand up to 6.5 to 7 feet tall. Looking at you as dinner. But you don't know. It's too dark, you cannot see it. Everything is just fine with you. It's like picnic, isn't it? Because you believe it's safe. The very nature of how you are made right now is, whatever you believe becomes your reality. When this is so, this complex impressions of memory that's been taken in, this huge heap of impressions which has been manipulated into different shapes and forms according to your thought and emotion, has become such a complex prison that to figure out your way through that is not possible because who you are itself is controlled by that. You build a prison and this was not built with the intention of imprisoning yourself. This prison was built with the intention of self-preservation. When you build a wall to preserve yourself, the walls that you build for self-preservation are also the walls of self-imprisonment. Just takes a little while to realize that. So once you build this wall with complex amalgamation of memory and imagination, and emotion involved. Now your very software is such, it is not geared to cross this wall. You must understand that you are not even going and knocking your head on the wall because your software is geared to only just run within the walls, never even go and touch the wall. Unless you become aware enough, unless you become conscious enough to become conscious of those dimensions of memory which are on the unconscious levels of your memory bank. Unless you move to that space, till then you don't even touch the wall because your software keeps you well within the wall space, never even makes an attempt. Within the prison, you'll seek freedom. Within the prison, you seek power, you seek freedom. There is some power and freedom, you know. Inside the prison, there's a whole kingdom. Somebody is running a whole kingdom inside. He's the boss there, he runs the whole kingdom there, he manages things there. He feels like a king inside a prison. So within the prison, you can seek a certain amount of power and freedom. That is allowed. But once the longing to go beyond the prison comes, if you become powerful within the prison, then you won't make an attempt ever to get out of the prison. Such a longing will not come. People, the prisoners who are convicted in a prison for short term, don't get involved with all this because they're just eager to get out. Those who are there for life, they know there is no way out of it. They're forming kingdoms inside because they know anyway they're going to be in the prison for the rest of their life, so they are trying to make something out of it. Find some kind of meaning to an imprisoned life. So, outside help unfortunately becomes necessary because without outside help, you won't even realize there is another possibility. You will start seeking freedom and power within the prison spaces. And generally, most prisons in the world are very orderly. They're kept well. Everybody gets up on time, goes to bed on time, eats on time, everything happens on time. It's a very orderly arrangement. Because for people who manage the prison, this order is the safety. If there is a disorderly movement, they can't figure out what's happening there. But a prison which is very orderly, is very hard to escape from. So if you get very organized within yourself, you will see that prison becomes very hard to break. People who are very organized and controlled, you will see they will come to all kinds of programs, but nothing is happening. I'm very disciplined, I'm perfect, but all kinds of insane people are going crazy, but nothing is happening to me is always the question, because a very orderly prison is always a secure prison. The more secure a prison is, the further away from freedom you are. It needs a little chaos, but if chaos goes beyond a point, then it becomes unmanageable. When things are chaotic, easier to break through the walls. So to maintain a balance of a certain order and a certain level of chaos is lots of complex management. Once it happened, a surgeon, a field marshal or a general and a politician met in the coffee shop of a golf club. All of them retired. So the surgeon doesn't have his scalpel, the general doesn't have his guns, the politician doesn't have his power or his people. So they were just talking. And the surgeon said, of all the professions in the world, my profession of being a surgeon is the oldest profession. The other two asked, how so? So he said, you know, before this Adam and Eve, it was just Adam. And Adam's one rib was taken out, from that rib, Eve was made. Who else but a great surgeon can do that? So, it is the oldest profession. The general said, no, you're missing a point. Before even Adam came, do you remember it says that there was chaos and order was brought. Who else but a good soldier can bring order to such a situation? Soldier's job was the first thing in this creation. The politician chuckled and said, all that is fine, but who created the chaos? So, managing chaos, just enough so that your system doesn't get too orderly and the prison doesn't become too strong that it can't be broken, it can only be done by somebody who is not in the prison. One who is in the prison cannot do that. If he creates chaos, he will create totally destructive chaos. Only somebody who is not sentenced can create such a thing. It's because of this, traditions always insisted on a live guru And where the situations were conducive, these gurus demanded total surrender. Where it was not, they talked elaborate philosophies. Krishna very unabashedly said, "You have to surrender to me, there is no other way." He never feared. It never occurred to him that somebody may think he seems to be too egoistic. Saying that, "I'm everything, you must surrender to me," is a very dangerous statement in today's world. But he never felt like that. He lived in a situation where he could simply say, "I'm everything, you must surrender to me, there is no other way." In recent times, we have not had such freedom to say such things. You have to weave it around and weave it around and weave it around and weave it around before you ever bring people to such a state. Here in this culture, people have been trained to surrender. Right from their childhood, wherever you take your children, children are told, first thing is bow down. Anybody elderly, you see, first bow down, touch their feet. This is because the whole culture, the whole nation at one time lived with a single-minded purpose of ultimate liberation. The whole population in this land, in this part of the world, was completely dedicated to ultimate liberation. Mukti was the only goal in their life. Because of that, the culture trained people right from their childhood that don't make too much out of yourself, just bow down to everything that you see. Like this, many devices were built so that surrender becomes natural. But we got English educated. It became very difficult to bow down, very difficult. Because in the West, it was always taught to people, never bow down to anybody. You stand up straight, never bow down, because bowing down was seen as a weakness. Surrender is unthinkable. The most horrible thing that you can do is surrender. They never realize the beauty of surrender. So, from falling in love, now they have twisted themselves out to making love. Falling became a negative thing, bowing down became a negative thing, surrender became a negative thing. By doing this, humanity has surrendered the most beautiful aspect within themselves. They have surrendered the beauty of life to gross ego. Ego is worshipped. So, the very idea of somebody, that you need somebody to come out of your limitations is unacceptable. But that it may take a long time to even know that there is a possibility. To even realize that there is a possibility beyond the way you exist right now, it will take an extremely long time. If one celebrates their ego as strength, if one does not understand the limitations of his existence, if one believes oneself to be everything, or unwilling to be helped because it's considered weakness, then even to realize there is a possibility will take a very long time. If a different type of sense, if another sense, which is not five senses, has to arise within you, first of all, you must understand the limitations of the five senses. Once it happened that a young wife was sharing with her friend, "It looks like my husband has sixth sense." Her friend asked, "How so? How do you know this?" Because she said, "It's obvious, he doesn't have the five. So he must have sixth sense, you know." If a dimension beyond the physical, right now if you sit here, simply just the presence of what is here, suddenly something beyond the physical is struggling to go beyond the physical. That makes some people noisy, some people very mobile, some people like mopping machines on the floor. Different expressions. But essentially what's happening is something beyond the physical doesn't like the physical limitations. But even for this to happen, I want you to understand, it has happened with outside help. Otherwise, this life would have gone on without ever knowing anything like that. Just ideas and stories. Ideas and stories are not transformation. It just creates a dream. A dream is more real than reality in experience. If you have a nightmare, suppose you were sleeping, you're fast asleep and dreaming, you thought the elephant has come into your bedroom, you got terrified and out of that fear you woke up and there is no elephant. Even though there is no elephant, you will still sweat, you will palpitate, you will go through everything as if something happened. The moment you woke up, you know it was just a dream, but still you fear. So, when we say a dream, don't take it lightly. A dream is more impactful than reality for most people. So, the trap of a dream is not a simple trap. It's a very powerful trap, self-created, especially because it's self-created. You have no means to break it, because what you have created, there is a certain sense of attachment and liking to it. You can't break it. Have you seen at different stages in your life, some silly little things which are in your drawer, you know it's no use, but you can't throw it away. Even if it's causing some trouble, you can't throw it away because it's been there for so long. There is a certain sense of attachment to it. So what you create, it's very hard to break it. It takes clarity of perception, or it needs outside help. Otherwise, it could take a very long time. Long time, when I say I'm not talking in terms of years, it could take a very long time. Allowing outside help, asking for outside help, or even if it comes unasked, allowing outside help, needs a certain gracefulness, needs a certain humility, otherwise you can't allow outside help. Lots of people cannot receive something gracefully. And always the social ethics have taught you giving is important, taking is not important. Yes, taking is not important, taking is ugly, but receiving is very important. If you do not understand that you, anyway, everything that's worthwhile in your life, you're actually receiving. I want you to just look at any aspect of it. Right now, the clothes that you wear. For this cloth to sit here right now, here, do you know how many things and how many people are involved in delivering this here? Somebody planted a cotton seed, that plant growing up, 1,000,000 organisms were involved in making this plant grow up, and then the cotton, you know the whole process in Tamil Nadu, from ginning to weaving to spinning to weaving to everything, how many people? And then the cloth, and then the maker and the seller and the agent and everybody else. And now here it's sitting here. How many thousand people are involved in just this cloth sitting on your body right now? The food that you ate, for it to get into your system, how many people and how many different lives have participated in making this happen? None of these things you could do all by yourself, isn't it? If you understand this, and if you receive this gracefully, you will be overwhelmed with gratitude. If gratitude becomes your very life breath, you will also become very receptive. When you're grateful, you're very receptive. You can only be not gratitude as a certain… people have always told you 3 magic words, one of them is thank you, not a cultivated gratitude. Gratitude happens to you when you are overwhelmed by something or somebody. Suppose you were very hungry, very hungry, you thought you were going to die. Somebody just gave you a piece of bread. Now tears of gratitude will come to you. That same piece of bread, if they gave you a loaf some other time when you're well, it wouldn't have meant anything to you. But at that moment, that piece of bread, when you look at that person who gave that piece of bread to you, enormous gratitude, because you're overwhelmed by the experience. With every aspect of your life, if you recognize how much is involved to make a single aspect of your life happen, a piece of cloth or a piece of bread or a morsel of food, what it takes for it to be created and to land on your plate and get into your body, if you just see from microorganisms to human beings, how many lives are participating in making things happen for you every moment of your life. If you are conscious of it, if you peel your eyes and look at it properly, you are overwhelmed with gratitude, because you could never do this by yourself. Never do this by yourself. If you're overwhelmed with gratitude, you're in an extremely good state of receptivity. Gratitude is also a state of surrender, please say this. When you're grateful, you very naturally bow down. Nobody has to tell you. I don't know if you have noticed this. Even if somebody does not belong to Eastern cultures, where bowing down is not at all a part of their culture, But when they're grateful, they will stand little bent. Have you noticed this? They won't stand like this when they are full of gratitude. When they're grateful, they naturally… There is a need to bow down. Being overwhelmed with gratitude and surrender are not different. Instead of surrender, we could talk the language of gratitude, because it still accommodates your ego a little bit. Surrender's too… it's too pure, too much pure, in that there is no room for any of your nonsense. In gratitude, you can still be there a little bit. If gratitude happens as step one, surrender will naturally follow. Are there any questions?
Sadhguru, world is shrinking because of communication. Can we welcome other cultures, or should we stick to our own culture? Or if we can welcome other cultures, to what extent?
World is shrinking because of communication? Yes, definitely. We can reach across the world with a simple gadget like a cell phone. We can go around the world in 24 hours' time. That way, yes, but in terms of human experience, in terms of our ability to communicate and travel, yes, it is true. But in terms of human relationship and experience, world is not shrinking, world is going apart in a big way. Like never before, humanity is suffering from loneliness. If it was shrinking, if truly communication was happening, there should have been no such thing as loneliness. Today you will see, it's a very common sight to see husband and wife are walking together, both of them talking on the cell phone to somebody else. Don't you see that all over this place? They're together. So, those who are far have become near, those who are near have become far because of electronic communication, isn't it? People are in your house, but they're watching the television. Where are they with you? They are somewhere else. They are playing cricket in Kolkata. Isn't it so? Nobody is with you, the world is… people are moving away, further and further away because of this electronic communication. I'm not speaking against it. It is just that I don't think world is shrinking, it is reorganizing itself because of technology, communication technology. So because of this, what is happening anywhere in the world is happening in your house because there is a television in your house. All kinds of people have entered your house today. The kind of people that you would have never allowed into your house have all entered your house, isn't it? Murderers, drunkards, drug addicts, rapists, everybody's entering your house now, isn't it so? Because once you turn on the television, who comes and who doesn't come is not your choice, everybody comes into your house. So how much of it should I allow? Should I allow it or not? Should I stick to my own culture? Or should I welcome other cultures, integrate culture? Or should I resist the influence of other cultures? First thing I want you to understand, generally, what somebody did yesterday, the mess that they created yesterday is today's culture. The mess that you create today is tomorrow's culture. Cultures generally did not happen, were not engineered towards a purpose. It generally happened according to the requirements of the land and the time and the situation that existed at that time. A few cultures engineered their culture in a certain way, but generally most of the cultures just happened because of the events that they faced. So should I stick to my culture or somebody else's culture? Every culture has something to offer. If you have chosen to take your life in a particular direction, a certain type of culture may be suitable for you. If you have chosen to take your life in a different direction, then another kind of culture is suitable for you. If you have chosen to be moving on the spiritual path, then you need to create a certain type of culture. Wherever there was genuine spiritual process, uncannily, you will see, generally they developed a same kind of culture anywhere in the world, unconnected. If there was a realized being and he spoke about how to be, you will see it is almost word by word, it is about the same anywhere. But over a period of time, those things get distorted, get influenced by the local cultures and organized forms of religion and gets totally into a different shape and form. So if your goal is ultimate liberation, then you must follow not Indian culture, Isha culture. I don't know what you meant when you said our culture. At one time, long time ago, at one time, this whole subcontinent had a culture like how we are trying to create. We are not yet there, we are just trying to create that here. A very well-balanced state of chaos and order. It's very difficult to manage these two things at the same time. If you want to make everything orderly, it's very easy. Everything will work properly, but spirit will die. If you make it very chaotic, people will become very spirited, but things will collapse. Once things collapse, people also fall apart. To maintain a certain level of order and a certain level of disorder. I was just talking to the school teachers the other day, our home school teachers. I think even in the Bhavaspandana programs, we're talking about, it's like a roller coaster. When we say a roller coaster, people are usually thinking it's a wild thing. Not true. A roller coaster is more controlled than your car. If you drive your car, it may go off here and there a little bit. Any moment you can go off the road and back on the road. A roller coaster is fixed on its rails 100%, always on the track, never going off for a moment. Perfect order. But in experience, on the surface, it's total disorder. Only people who are sitting in it think it's a wild thing. People who are managing it think it's a perfect machine in proper order. It never goes off the track. So, spiritual culture is always, we are trying to manage it like a roller coaster. One part of it is perfectly on rails, always. Rest of it is going wild. It looks like you don't want to have anything to do with it because it's so crazy. At the same time, another part of it, the bottom line is fixed so perfectly well that it never goes off the track. It takes a steady stomach to take that ride. If you don't have a stable stomach, you can't even sit in a car, you know. Don't choose any cultures. Act intelligently in your life without identifying with any culture. If you are choosing to go in a particular direction, a certain type of culture is advantageous. If you're choosing to go in a different direction, if your life is all about enjoying the physicality of life, turn west. They do it better. If your life is about knowing the inner dimensions, turn east. We've always done it better. So the choice is not about which culture. The choice is about what is it that you want to do with your life, what is suitable for your way, your search, your longing. You arrange your life intelligently around that, you will belong to some culture. What does it matter? So, when we say Isha culture, if you want to be spiritually active and alive all the time, when I was just 4 or 5 years of age, my parents were not so temple-going people. Once in 2-3 months they went to… somehow their culture told them, though they had no much inclination, maybe for cultural reasons they wanted to go to the temple. So when they want to go to the temple, I have questions. Now I have a condition, if you can't answer the question, I'm not entering the temple. They could not answer my questions, so I never entered the temple. So where to leave me? They always left me with the footwear man. And they told the footwear man, they gave him some money. If they'd given me that money, I would have sat in one place. They don't understand the dynamics of life. Because since I was maybe 9-10 years of age, I earned my own pocket money always. I never took a single rupee from my parents. So even when I was 4 or 5, I understood the dynamics well. If they had given the money, so this is the fee for you staying quiet, I would have just stayed quiet. Instead of that, they gave the money to that man and told him, you make sure that he's right here and he's not easy. So I remember he always held me like this. And he's doing his business with one hand, with the other hand, always he held me like this. So there was no escape. So I sat there and was trying to understand his business. People come and they leave their footwear with him. At that time it's just 5 paisa per footwear, for a pair or 10 paisa if you have a family or something. That somebody wants to save and they'll leave their footwear elsewhere without leaving it at him. So this outside footwear sometimes God puts it on and walks away. And these people come out and when this footwear is missing, they curse the creation and the creator. And a whole drama happens. And sometimes they think this man has engineered this footwear disappearance. And even this man, he doesn't keep it in a proper way. Whatever he collects, he throws it in a heap. And when people come, he gives them the wrong footwear and a whole drama was happening. So this footwear thing went deep into me. So when we first started doing the yoga programs, first thing I said was, footwear should be parked properly. Are you still doing it in Chennai or no? Wherever you go, Isha Yoga, outside footwear will be neatly parked. No confusion about it. And we don't let God walk away with it. So if you bring this culture into yourself, whether it is a footwear or a crown, you handle it with the same care, with the same concern. Whether it's an ant or an elephant, you treat it with same concern. Whether somebody is a king or a beggar, you treat them the same way within yourself. If you learn to do the simple tasks of your life and the most important tasks of your life with the same involvement, whatever you have seen in the Isha Yoga programs, the volunteers are going about as if carpets are some kind of precision instruments. Have you seen this? They're going on like this, holding it like this, holding it like that. It must be exactly where it should be. Yes, everything in your life must be handled that way, small or big, if you don't make a distinction. Something that is dear to you or not dear to you, if you don't make a distinction, with the same level of involvement, if you handle everything, that's a good culture. That's a very good, conducive culture for a spiritual seeker. No other culture is good for you. That should be your culture of involvement with everything. It is not that something is important, something is not important. Everything is important. If you live with… these are two types of cultures, everything is important or nothing is important. These two are spiritual in nature. This is what you see in this country. There are some people who don't care for anything. There are some people who are concerned about everything. But the moment you think something is important, something is not important, you are on the wrong culture. This is great, this is not great. This is good and this is bad. The moment you make this and start treating accordingly within yourself, outside, how we handle things, there is some discretion. But within you, there is no discretion. everything is same. If you just learn this and put this into your life, you are in the right culture. That is not spirituality. It creates a conducive atmosphere for a spiritual process. So this is the reason why in the Eastern cultures, you see a cow, you bow down. You see a snake, you bow down. You see a tree, you bow down. You see a beggar, you bow down. You see a king, you bow down. You see God, you bow down. Whatever you see, you bow down. This is not some kind of subservience. This is taking away the distinction of your judgment as to what is important and what is not important. Everything that has been created in this existence is important, that's why it's here. If the Creator thought it's worthwhile to create a rock, why do you think it's not important? If the Creator took such elaborate care to create an ant, have you looked at an ant closely? If you look at an ant closely, you will see it's an exquisite piece of art. If somebody took so much care to create this teeny little creature with so much care, who the hell are you to think it's not important? Yes, conducting our life, we have to do so many things, then why are you not teaching? There's one going right here. Why are you not teaching yoga to the ant? Because we know only four-limbed yoga. Though we talk about 8 limbs to yoga, we know only four-limbed yoga, we are still not competent to teach him yoga. So we just let him pass, we don't demand anything out of him. If you can look upon and act upon everything, small things in your life, big things in your life, with the same sense of involvement, that's the best culture. That culture, you must bring it into yourself and your children. It'll do good wherever they go, east or west. Last question.
Sadhguru, when I am into the height of my emotions, surrender seems to be the nearest, sweetest thing and possible. When so many other things overpower me, it goes out of my vision. Can I consciously do the Saranagati?
Don't try to surrender, because what will you surrender? What is it that you're going to surrender? If you bend down, that is not surrender, that's good exercise. If you declare, I have surrendered, that's a horrible ego. So how will you surrender? What will you surrender? What have you got to surrender, first of all? It is out of a certain realization that surrender happens. It's when you see that… See, these words are can be very misleading, because you have always been taught self-worth, self-esteem, confidence, isn't it? These are the valuable things to make your life. Surrender is against all these things. Only when you're worthless, you can surrender, please see. If you have self-worth, self-esteem, confidence, how to surrender? But can you live without confidence? Can you live without self-esteem or some sense of self-worth? Right now, no. See, I have no sense of self-esteem. or self-worth. That's why any moment I'm willing to… if necessary, next moment I'm willing to go, because I don't think this is worth anything. Personally, I don't think this is worth anything, keeping this on. But because it seems to be useful for many lives around us, we keep this going. But there is no self-worth, because the sense of self itself is gone, so where is the worth? Self is not worth anything. And to that which is not worth anything, if you add esteem, that's lots of trouble. And because of this esteem, this worthless thing, if it becomes confident, that's real trouble. But for the sake of survival, because people believed, people only believed, it's not true. People believed unless you believe in yourself, you cannot survive. It's not true. It's not true in an essential way. But people believe that and it's become true for them. Because whatever you believe, if you add sufficient focus and emotion to it, it becomes real, you know. It becomes very real. All kinds of nonsensical belief systems around the world have become absolutely real for lots of people. Not for a small number of people, for a vast majority of population, it's become real. They believe it and it is so. So, because of belief, these things have become real. But whatever you believe and whatever you empower with your thoughts and your emotions has no existential basis. When you talk surrender, you're talking about passing from the limitations of one dimension to another. You knocked your head on the wall sufficiently, now you understand that unless you become like thin air, you will not pass. When you have realized this, that in your present form you will never pass, when you realize this, see, suppose you're imprisoned and the doors are thick and nothing happens, you can't go. There is a gutter, filthy gutter. If you crawl through this filth, you can get out to freedom. Will you choose to crawl through the filth or no? You will, right? Yes? If that's the route to freedom, through the most horrible filth you will crawl. It will go into your nostrils and your mouth and everywhere, but it doesn't matter. It leads you to freedom, so you will crawl through filth. That's surrender. That's surrender because you have realized you can't cross the prison wall standing. That is why you're crawling. So surrender is a certain realization that you realize in your present form, you cannot pass the gate. So you find a more intelligent way to pass. That will not come by cultivation. That will come only by a certain realization, either out of your intelligence or because life has ground you sufficiently, or that you're insane enough to fall in love in an unbridled way, not in a conditional way, not in a sensible way, not in a nice way, in an insane way. Insane, like a Ramakrishna or a Mirabai or Akka Mahadevi. There have been any number, these are the known names, there have been any number of them who are insane. They're not sane, they're not nice, not at all nice, I want you to know. But they're fantastic. That which is fantastic need not be nice. Usually it's not nice. I'm not nice either.
You are my perfect mirror, you show me what I'm not. In the endless pit of what once was me, layer and layer you peel off me. The pain it is, but the joy it brings. So thank you for showing me what I'm not, for showing me what I could be.